now if you like.
No, I'm good.
I'm Dave.
I'm Sean.
This is Barstools. Oh,
And Bandtalk.
Yeah, it is.
The complete maritime music bucket list. And I tell you, it just keeps rolling. We're going to give a big shout out to this fella because he had us on his show last night.
Yep.
And we're getting great comments. And I tell you, we got a little bit schooled in how to do an interview, so hopefully we don't let him down here when we do it. But everybody's going to know this gentleman. He's certainly a huge supporter of maritime music, and dare I say, without Mr. Tom Bedell, a lot of these folks probably wouldn't be getting the plays that they're getting. So to say that he's an important part of the music scene is an understatement. And not only that, he fronts his own band, and we're going to talk about that too tonight.
Okay, I have nothing more to say. I was going to say, okay, I see where he's going. My end will be, little did you know, he's very much involved in the music scene himself as a musician, but you know what? He has been for a long, long time. He's originally from St. John, New Brunswick, but now he's made Halifax his home. Maybe Dartmouth. We'll see. We'll find out exactly where he is. But quite honestly, like I said, he's a player. He's a real deal. He's an all-around good guy. And Sean nailed it because that Route 104 show is such an avenue for a lot of folks who are local that want to get their voice out, to get their tunes out, get their, and there's not a whole lot of other venues for them right now. So God love Tom Bedell. And we have him right here on Barstools and Bandtalk, right there.
Look at that. Then a handsome man entered. Isn't that what Joey Tribbiani says?
Avon calling. I like that little ding ding you get on the Zoom. That's cool.
So first off, Tom, we got a ton, and I mean a ton of great feedback in the interview that you did with us, and very appreciative of that. So thank you very much. Our page was lit up with great stuff today on it. So thank you very much.
Hey man, no problem. No problem.
No, we really appreciate that. And you know what? A lot of folks do, for sure, because we just said that if your ears are burning before you came on, it's like your show and what you do and your belief in the community of this local music industry, because you're part of it yourself, is a real inspiration for other folks, and it's a real venue for folks who would never have that venue before. So good on you, Tom Bedell. And Q4.
Thank you guys. Yeah.
Well,
thanks. This was great.
Yeah. We'll see you later. Yeah. Well, so I'm going to start by asking you, hopefully a softie here, but so when you're out there researching Route 104, are you like, I've seen you out a bunch of times. I've run into you. I know that you're playing. We're going to talk about, you front your band and stuff as well, but how are you stumbling on this music? Are you out seeing it yourself, or are people turning you on to it? How does it happen?
Well, I was amazed. Like when I first started doing Route 104, which is coming up to its 20th anniversary here next month, August 6th was the first. I just found the first cue sheet, like the first all the songs I played in that first show, and it's August 6th, 2000. So it's coming up in 20 years, and I was just like, we didn't have a show like that before, which I thought we should have. And J.C. Douglas came in to be program director, and I think within about a week. I just came up to him and I said, we should really have like a local music show on Sunday. And do you think you can fill up an hour? Yeah, I think I could. And I just put the word out, and just for people that I knew 20 years ago, and I was just inundated with stuff, and it was all really, really good. And it was this stuff just finds me for some reason. I like getting out and seeing shows, and we're Key 104. They're a big part of a lot of shows, so you get a chance to see showcases and stuff that's just kind of coming up, and it's you think maybe I've seen it all, man. I don't know. Then somebody comes out of nowhere that you hadn't seen before, and it's a whole different style. Like I'm hearing a lot of. It seems like 80s kind of synth pop and new wave and stuff. That's sort of making its way back with bands like Walrus, and there's so many bands that have really gone in that direction. It's always changing, and it's hard to avoid, really. I mean, a place like Halifax and the Maritimes, places that love music so much, that love live music, and it just never ends. Like it finds me somehow, and anytime I look for it, it's always.
It's true, because Sean and I talk about that all the time. Is like, people think, you guys must be on the phone constantly. I said, no, we answer the phone, we answer the text. initially, like, we wanted to put the word out here. Here's what we're doing. It's hard to explain to folks what we're trying to accomplish here, because my knowledge has never really been done. To do like an interview with people and on video, like on a weekly basis or daily basis, whatever the case may be. But you're right. They just find us, and the content is amazing. There's so much talent out here. It's incredible.
And it really, you go back to 2000 when there really wasn't, I don't think, certainly Q104 hadn't had, and we had like a local music show that I think ran for like 3 weeks back in the summer of like 94 or 95. Tracy Hooper was the host of it. But I don't know the story. It just kind of came and left. And I thought, well, there's so much great music here too. And this is sort of after the New Seattle kind of stuff too. Right. Like that had come and gone. So there was still so many bands that were starting to come up. I think Matt Mays, I had the Guthries, his band, the Guthries, on maybe like the 4th or 5th Route 104. Stan Carew, the late Stan Carew, who used to be a jock on Q104 and really made his bones as a CBC guy before he came to Q104, and then had the CBC show after that on weekend mornings. He turned me on to the Guthries, and they came in. I think it was probably Matt Mays' his first appearance on the radio, I think. And Dale Murray and Brian Murray and the Minikins were there too, and I still have a recording of that. I'll probably play that for the 25th or 20th anniversary here. And yeah, so this is after the New Seattle stuff too, and there was still so much great rock and roll. That foundation had been laid there, and it's just the rock scene. Like I think we were talking about, we don't really necessarily get that much credit for having a great rock scene on the East Coast. But I mean, the people that you've had on your show, I mean, look at the episode with Tim Hewitt recently, and talking about being able to go out every night and seeing all these great bands, and it's always been there. Like, people love music just as much. I just wish there were more venues for it. Of course, any venues would be great right now.
Well, that's a great point. I mean, Dave and I, when we interviewed Marvin and Dave from Haywire, Dave and I, we were at that show, the Q104 Homegrown in 1984.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And I think we paid $10 to get in, and there was 10 bands. Peter Palis, who played stuff around the house, was there. Yep. Q104 used to do all kinds of stuff like that, so it's good that you're still doing it, because, I mean, again, it's, where do these local people get an opportunity? You mentioned we're venue starved, and we are, so where do they get an opportunity for their stuff to be heard but a show like yours? So it's great.
Well, there's so many avenues now too. Like, there's so many. I mean, you've got YouTube. I mean, there's YouTube. Yeah. You can have your own station. You can broadcast to the world. It doesn't have quite the filter that radio does. So you still need radio.
Oh, wait, we're supposed to have filters? I didn't know we were supposed to have filters.
I didn't mean filters.
Oh, good.
Wait a second. But see, that's a filter. Yeah. The shit filter didn't go. The shit filter's broken, Ricky. Yeah, so radio is still very important for people, and just that bit of exposure, that bit of validation, I think, that comes from getting played on the radio is still very important.
Sure. I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit now. Well, first of all, I want to say, because I know you talked about Tim Hewitt, because you grew up in St. John's with Tim Hewitt, and we had talked about his the band that he talked about on his interview. It seems to me you might know something about that band, Tim Hewitt's first band.
Right there. Hope Tim's looking at this. Look at that. Some official Hellion merch. Is that going to look backwards when it looks backwards? But look at that. He had the shirt, I think, and I've still got the pin. I actually dug it out especially for this. Let me tell you about meeting Tim. The first time I met Tim Hewitt, I don't know if I've even told Tim this. This is a very 80s story right here. I was going to Simon's High. We went to the same school. I didn't know Tim, and I was in a biology class, and I'm not paying any attention. I'm dozing off, and I look down at the desk, and all of a sudden, I look and I see an Iron Maiden logo. Somebody's taken a marker, or maybe even just a pen, and engraved the Iron Maiden logo in there. And so this class, I go to the other part of the desk, and I engrave the Judas Priest logo, like the cool 80s logo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the next day I come in, and there's a Scorpions logo there. So, and then I put a Motorhead logo, and then within a week, the entire desk is filled with these band logos that these two people, that me and this other guy or girl or whoever, are writing on here. And then I hung around after. I got to meet whoever the hell that's
You're
sitting in
hoping
that
it's a
seat.
girl, eh? Please be a girl. Please be a girl.
Yeah, that wasn't it. No, that wasn't going to happen. But yeah, so it was him, and we were immediately we were just friends. I mean, we bonded. Like it's like everybody else in my life that I've got a great bond with. It starts with music somehow, and we ended up being friends. We went to my first big concert in St. John. I still have a poster from this. It was Clearlight, who was a Pink Floyd tribute, followed by Teenage Head.
Love Teenage Head.
Oh yeah, me too. And the headliner, Lee Aaron, on the Metal Queen tour.
No way.
Oh yeah. Had a profound effect on both Tim and I. Tim couldn't speak for like a month, I don't think, after that. And yeah, that all affected us, and well, pretty much the same way, of course. But yeah, so that was one of my first big rock and roll experiences was with Tim. And when I first moved to Halifax in 1990, the first time I ever went out in Halifax, went to the moon. Tim took me to the moon. I think he moved a few weeks after that even, and so that was the last time I've really seen him in person. But it was great to see him here. And yeah, I was a huge Razor Boy fan. I was a big fan. I remember going to see them on the boardwalk in St. John. And at the Club 6 High and the showroom and all these, I mean, even a place like what we talked about when you were on Route 104, even a place like St. John in the 80s. It's really gone through a bit of a renaissance. Back then, you still had two clubs where you could see a band every night, like a live rock band, and it was such a great era. But no, I was a huge Razor Boy fan back in those days, and I when he got the gig with Razor Boy, I thought, yeah, trooper schmooper, but Razor Boy, that's where it's at. That's the real money shot right there. So it was great to see him. Great to get some of those memories. All those names he was throwing out there, I knew a good portion of them. So that was really cool.
It's funny you mentioned St. John, Tom, because when Dave and I or anybody played on the road, we used to play a lot of small places. Yeah. So it was like you got to go to St. John. It was like a big town, and you were excited to play there. But the Club 6 High was a killer room. It had the big stage. It had 2 levels. It was a rock club, and if you remember, you used to stay at the very top. So it was like you just walk up the back stairs, and it's party central as soon as the show's over. And what a great time! And that's a room that was just, for me, was one of my favorite places to play.
Yeah, and I started working in radio in '87, so I was kind of on the tail end of that, and at a CFPC in St. John at the time, which was just a few streets up. So if I would get off at midnight, you don't want to go home. You're still kind of riding high, so you walk down the street to the 6 High, and you'd see all kinds of great bands there. I think one of my favorite rock and roll memories from St. John was actually not at the 6 High. There was another band, I think it was New Regime, were playing at the 6 High.
Nice.
Good band, but at the same time, this other band was coming through town, and they had to play over at the Aquarius on the west side, the Tragically Hip, and so they got bumped. They got bumped from the 6 High to play at the Aquarius, known for their steak tips. And on this one night, Tragically Hip, and about 8 people in the crowd, and I was one of them. So.
Wow,
that's really cool. But yeah, the showroom was there up on Union Street, which I think is just like a bingo place, or it's just shut down. But yeah, the 6 High, that's long gone. And that's
we used to be a post office one time, did it not? That's what I remember. I thought it used to be
the old Post Club. I think it was called the Old Post Office Club before they turned it to the 6 High back in the 86, 87, somewhere in that range. But that was a smoking place, man. That was literally you could sit there. I mean,
little known fact, Brighton Rock played there, and they played there by accident. Somebody had canceled, and they were on their way to Dartmouth to play the Crazy Horse, and they stopped in there, and I happened to be there one night and got to see them. And again, to see them in that venue was just unreal, because they came in, the big high stage, and it was great.
Oh, I saw Brighton Rock with they opened for Triumph, I think, the one time I saw them. Probably the last time I saw Triumph on the Sport of Kings tour at Moncton Coliseum. That's rock and roll, baby. Middle of February, Triumph and Brighton Rock in the Moncton Coliseum. Just friggin' great. Yeah.
Wow. So let's talk about your music now, because I mean, so you're a fan, obviously. Then we all were. Sean,
that's it. Yeah, that's.
But you can't ever begin to aspire to become a musician or to learn a craft or whatever if you're not a fan of the music first. So who was your influences, and when did you start playing?
Well, I mean, I have to go back to. I mean, I was just going through this with one of my daughters here. She said something about ABBA, and I said I used to love ABBA. I
I know.
love ABBA.
Yep.
I was like 10,
Yep.
and then it went from ABBA to Billy Joel, and then I heard the Cannons at the end of "For Those About to Rock" by AC/DC. Now that okay, this is going to be the next 3 years of my life. So I was into that, then into the Maiden, and I think it's right around when I started in radio. When I started in radio, they put you on the overnight shift, and between 3 and 4 in the morning, they just want you to just use the board. They don't want you to crack the mic at all. They just want you to just get the just fade stuff in, fade stuff out, learn how songs end and things. And you could just basically reach into this cabinet of 45s and just play whatever the hell was there. Some of it was terrible. So but some of it, every once in a while, you get like this old Temptations song. You get this old Van Morrison song. You hadn't heard some Dylan, like 45s. And I thought, oh, wow. It kind of opened me up to a little bit more of the possibilities of music. I was still going to university. And a friend of mine was just annoyingly into Bruce Springsteen, and oh God, Born in the USA. I have no idea. It's just all these Canadian meatheads singing Born in the USA. You don't know what this song is. Still don't usually, but I started to listen to some of it. It's a little quieter, and it's just a lot more introspective. So that sent me down the rabbit hole to Dylan and Van Morrison, and then to John Prine and stuff like that, and eventually, like I was in a band briefly in the '80s, and we played on the same stage as Helene a few years later. We were called Prowler. Now you were talking about these band names. Of course, we played some Maiden. We played I forget what Maiden tune we played, but we played
Prowler.
some "Living After Midnight" by Priest. Prowler. It's got and I mean like we just played one gig, and I thought, yeah, I'm good. This is fine. We got paid. We had enough to buy a decent sized pizza, a couple of beers. That's man. So I never really thought of it. And most of that stuff, there's no way I could sing. I couldn't hit any Rob Halford notes. Couldn't sound like Bruce Dickinson or anything like that. But once I started listening to the songwriters a little bit, and John Hyatt and guys like that too, kind of picked up the guitar. And it's only been like the last little bit more than a decade that I've just been, just a weekend warrior, not anything. Not trying to set the world on fire, but any chance you get at this age to get off the couch, you should probably take that. So I'm just basically at the hobbyist level here, and it's so much fun. My God, there's no rush like that. It's just play this past weekend at a campground. A friend of mine put a bunch of people together, about 4 or 5 guys, decent sound system, and out in the sun. And I mean, it's the first time I've really been around people. Most of us haven't really been around people for the last 3 or 4 months here. It felt weird, but dear God, what an exhilarating feeling to just get out there with people and to see they're digging what you're doing. And yeah, there's nothing like it, But I'll leave that to the professionals. I'll leave I'm just strictly at the hobbyist level here. It's so much fun.
Well, but I mean, you mentioned something in that talk there that is important. The theme is that music for people is really, unfortunately, kind of gets swept under the rug in all this. And, people are saying it's non-essential, but it's really one of the things that is keeping people sort of their mental health well. Yep. If you look at the kitchen party, you look at some of the other things that are coming out. Really, it's music that people are kind of grasping onto to get them around the corner. Right.
Well, sure. And Danny Banfield, I don't know if we talked about this or not, but he has the Free Jam out at Freeman's Lower Sackville. So that was shut down. It's a great open sort of thing, and he gets a band up there, and people will come up and do a couple of songs with him, and it's wonderful. But that had to shut down. So he didn't miss a beat. Okay, we're doing this on Zoom, and we'd have like 14 or 15 people all sitting around. It combines my 2 favorite things, playing music and staying home. And, just sit here in this room. I'd say, get the guitar out and I plug it into the board, and we'd have 14 or 15 people just like doing a songwriter circle kind of do. Some people would do originals, other people would do, cover songs. And you could sit here, have a couple of drinks. And we had people there from Newfoundland, we had people from New Brunswick, we had people, because really you could do it worldwide.
Sure.
I mean, as long as you've got an internet connection, you can do that. And that's one of the things I hope that kind of stays around after all this is behind us, is just some of the online stuff. that you can do like all over the world, and it's like you're right there in the same room, and it's fantastic. So I hope that sticks around somehow.
I hope the technology changes enough a little bit, and I'm certainly no engineer, but I keep thinking, like, I even watched when I was watching the news. There's such a huge delay between, like, correspondent talking in Halifax and back at the back at the Dartmouth office, and it's like this huge 15-second delay. It drives me crazy. Whereas back, if you had the old analog phone lines, you could sing happy birthday to each other and you both hear it. But this new digital age is like, there's got to be some technology. Yeah, there's got to be some kind of technology.
Right. So anyway.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, that's the only thing that I kind of missed out of this is only one person can go at a time. But at the same time, I muted my mic, and I could still hear my instrument, so I can hear somebody coming in, and I'd get out the bass and I'd kind of play along with that, and so they couldn't hear it, but at the same time you could hear yourself kind of in the mix, so kind of worked out that way. But I see what you mean. That's the only thing that's kind of missing is the collaborative kind of thing. You can't really play together because of the latency, and like it's a second, 2 seconds, and it's pretty much impossible. But I hope. I mean, if the 5G, I mean, that's hopefully that is not giving us the coronavirus, but hopefully this will help with the,
Careful what you wish for, Tommy. I think we all get this coronavirus.
Jesus, I hear the helicopters.
Yeah. A lot of the I personally think that this forum is going to stay around. Like we were saying to a couple people, you're playing on a Saturday, but you're not playing on a Friday. You're going to go on live stream, and the feedback, and it's an obvious one that everybody talks about, is you don't have that instant feedback from the audience. So you're playing, and I've done a couple live streams with the guys that I play with, and our singer who loves that, he's I hate this because I don't know who's out there, I don't know who's listening, and so that's the only thing I think that's missing. But I think it's going to be here because it makes so much sense. It hits so many people. Dave and I were in New Zealand 2 weeks ago. We've never been in New Zealand, but we did an interview there. You know what I mean? That's you got to embrace the technology.
Oh yeah, no, it's really limitless. Like it's absolutely limitless. I mean, there's been so many sucky things that have happened over the last few months here, but I think this is, being able to not have to drive into a meeting, to just do it on your phone, to just do it over Zoom like this, or Teams, or even Facebook Messenger. I mean, I've done a couple of interviews like that too, and the quality's fine. It sounds like you're right there, but to not have to. A lot of things are going to change, I think, and I think we're going to see more of this, like teleconferencing and stuff like that. My wife used to work for a company where they would fly her to India like twice a year, and like fly a whole team of people to India or Prague or Barcelona, and that's going to cost a hell of a lot of money. And when you can just do it like this, why would you?
Yeah, I always wonder about that.
So,
but there's something. I mean, it's tricky because I don't think as an entertainer we can never truly give up the live audience, because that's part of it, that interaction, to watch people dance, to watch people enjoy it. Like to Sean's point earlier, it's always been the music that helps emote something. When you're sad, you listen to a nice song that may cheer you up. When you're feeling sad and you want to get more sad, let's do a sad song. It's always music that makes you feel something. So it's important that we keep providing that opportunity, that outlet, I guess, for people, and it's the best way to really experience it is live.
Absolutely. But there's no question. It's one thing to sit in front of a computer, and that's a really good kind of thing to do in the meantime when you can't actually get out there around people. But it's it's going to be a while until stuff gets back to normal. Like it's going to be like anybody that I don't know who you believe generally, but a lot of people are saying that this is going to be the last thing to come back, like big concerts and stuff. Like I had tickets for like all the shows here in town. We complain years and years go by before we get decent shows. This year we had, my God, we had the Black Keys with the Sheepdogs. We had the Glorious Sons. We had Cheap Trick and ZZ Top, and I haven't seen ZZ Top before. I was more excited about Cheap Trick, and great tickets for all of this stuff. I was going to see John Hyatt and Lyle Lovin in Portland, Maine, and that fell apart. And it's tickets for everything, and I said, oh God. But at the same time, you're not missing out anything because there's nothing to miss. Nothing's actually. Yeah. But it's going to be a while till this stuff comes back. But I really just from getting out and playing this past weekend, oh my God, I miss it. Just the actual people, like just looking over at somebody when it kicks in, what song you're playing. yes, just see the guy, the old guy over there. This is the highlight of his week,
Right on,
basically
Tom.
coming out and
That's
seeing
cool.
these and seeing the stuff, and that's what it's all about, man.
That's exactly.
Well, it's a good point. If like, and you would do it because you played in bands, but a lot of people, don't understand that interaction. They don't understand, like, you're playing and you see somebody enjoying it, or there's the arsehole at the bar that's giving you the finger because he thinks you suck, but it's still interaction, right?
It's something. Yeah,
Right.
He's feeling something. Yeah,
Exactly.
I don't care. Any review is good so long as you spell my name right in front of it.
yeah.
But a lot of people, and you would know this from radio, because you're not, this to you is normal, because when you're on radio, you don't have 1,000 people cheering in front of you. So you kind of always have had the best of both worlds, and that. But then you get to go out and you get to have that interaction with people when you play.
Yeah, and with radio too. I mean, with an audience like Q104, if you say something that's kind of off, if you say something that's maybe wrong, or maybe something that's a little bit objectionable, I haven't done that too many times, but you'll hear about it immediately. We've got a very interactive relationship with our audience, which is good. It keeps you honest, man. You're not going to get anything by these folks, which is the way I'd like to have it. But
that's funny.
Yeah,
no one says shit to me yet. I swear all the time. I drink a lot.
But it's like, I'll get out now. One of my absolute favorite parts of the job, it's been a while since I've done it now, though, is getting up and doing concert intros. Like, going to the casino, Scotiabank Center. We don't do as much stuff with Scotiabank Center anymore, but because everybody has their own intros and stuff, and you don't really need somebody coming out and mispronouncing people's names and what have you. But I've done that a few times on Citadel Hill, like some of the some of the Canada Day shows. I've been up on stage for some of those with like 20, 30,000 people looking at you, and I thought, oh my, this is like, that's how you get that bug right, is and that those aren't always easy gigs too. Like, those aren't always the easy gigs. I mean, you're thinking, oh my God, if We Were Rockin' a few years ago, I went out, and that was a great festival.
It sure was. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And I remember going out, and I was wearing these khaki shorts, and I was going to introduce Lou Gramm, so I'm ready to go. And I'm getting a little dry, so get a bottle of water, open it up, and the thing sprays. Like, it looks like I've peed myself. And I have to go on stage like this. So I'm standing in front of the fan trying to get. I eventually made it out there, and this is the thing. These are the things you worry about. I don't ever worry about what I'm going to say. I always worry about where I'm going to park, what I'm going to wear, and worry about something like that. It's kind of a defense mechanism, I think. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, true. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of basic. Basic skills right there.
Well, it's funny, Tom, you were just saying, because I don't know if you read Dee Snider's book, but he was talking about the first time they played in the UK. And it was that big festival. I don't, not Wacken, but it was Hammersmith or whatever it was.
Reading or something, yeah.
Yeah. And the only thing that saved their ass was they did the first song, and of course they're getting booed by all these metalhead kids. And Lemmy from Motorhead went out and basically said, "These are my mates. Shut your mouth and listen." And they went over, and they actually re-released that concert. But Dee Snider made the comment. He said, "I didn't care if it was like, they hated our guts. I was playing in front of 100,000 people, and not too many people get to do that. And it was very cool."
Yeah. I've read. I think I've read J.J. French wrote something, and I was just amazed at how hard those guys worked. Like, how every night those guys are on in such a pinnacle. Twisted Sister, that was probably the first. I think Tim Hewitt and I, we didn't go together, but we came to the Twisted Sister and Iron Maiden show here in Metro Center in '84. So that screwed me up life. That was it right there.
Things, man, because I do.
Yeah.
That was, I thank Q104 for that, because I tell you, that was the best rock show I think I've ever seen. It was just the right bands at the right time for our generation. It was something else. It was larger than life. I mean, the pyrotechnics and the sound and their look and the lights. It was larger than life. Awesome show.
That was the first band I ever met too. I met them, Maiden, at the Moncton Coliseum in 1988. I think when they were here on the seventh tour. And it's the first band I've ever met. And I thought, I could just quit all of this right now. And after the show, they come in, and they could not have been nicer. I mean, I was playing a little bass at the time, but Steve Harris is signing something for me. And I said to him, I'm still trying to learn how to play Phantom of the Opera. And he stops from me. He looks up. He said, "So am I." And I think I introduced Nico McBrain to. It's the first time he ever had Keith's. So I said, "What's this?" It's Alexander Keith's Spring. That's fucking hard. Yeah. But that was I loved those guys, and that like that '80s period. That's really just what kind of lit the fire right there.
So what's your primary instrument? Are you a bass player or a singer or a guitar player? What's your primary?
No, it's my goal to play all instruments as badly as possible, or to play as many as badly as I possibly can. Good, yeah. No, I sing, and I know enough guitar to accompany myself on really easy songs. I think the thing is just surround yourself with people who know what they're doing, and no, I'm primarily a vocalist, but I play a bit of guitar. I know the same 3 chords that Tim taught me back in probably 1984. I think I know 4 of them now, maybe even 5 on a good day. But mostly, I just dabble in a few different things, and but primarily a vocalist. I think I just love hearing a good soul vocal, something that you can really sink your teeth into that way, and yeah, it's just it's just been something in the last. It's a pretty cool midlife crisis kind of thing too. Sorry for the pun there, midlife crisis, but. Yeah, it's a cool. As far as midlife crises can go, it's a pretty inexpensive one so far. So hasn't cost me to, as my family still likes me. And,
well, you have to give tips on how you're pulling that one off, then, because Dave and I we're touch and go there.
Oh yeah. I've got 2 girls, 21 and 17, and we just bought a new puppy like about a week into.
Oh, so you're fucking in like Flynn. See, if you're gonna keep buying them dogs, Jesus, that's all you need to do. Suckhole.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. But we're lucky to make it through a day without Chernobyl. But it's it's so far no fatalities yet, and the dog's cute as hell. So that's really all that.
Well, that'll work.
So Tom, and you were hitting a segue because I had a thought, and you mentioned the Maiden thing, and I've had the opportunity now to interview some people that I grew up listening to, and my line has always been, "It's so nice when you meet one of your heroes and they're not a dick." And
you couldn't say that on your show. He was saying like the bad word, right?
But anyway, I'm not going to put you on the spot of who might have been that, but of all the interviews and you've had an opportunity, who were some of your favorite people to chat with?
Number one, probably Alice Cooper. I've talked to him like 3 or 4 times over the years, and my God, just stories for days. And he had a great story about I talked to him the last time he was here. I think the time before that was when he was here with the Stones, when it rained all day. And I asked him, what'd you think of it? He said, I've never seen rain like that in my life. And I talked to Charlie Watts about that, and he had a whole story about coming to Halifax with the Stones. So just, so he goes back to the early 70s with that stuff. And he's great. Steve Van Zandt, Little Steven, Bruce Springsteen's guitar player. I've been pretty fortunate, like being a Springsteen fan. He's every time there's a Springsteen show anywhere that I go to, I always just call up Steve's people, and I go backstage and I just say hello to. It's pretty quick usually. We've had a couple of really cool conversations. He knows everything about every type of music, soul guy, blues, rock, like early rock and stuff like that. And I mean, he's Silvio from The Sopranos too.
He was my favorite character.
I was gonna say, Sean's a big Sopranos fan.
Acting. Like if you talk to him, he's not acting. Yeah, that's the thing. Like he's not acting. Like this is tailor made for him.
But he still does radio show too, does he? Not? Does he still get the radio show?
He does. Yeah. We haven't run it for. Little Steven's Underground Garage. Yeah, we haven't run that for a few years on Q, but he still does that. He's got a Sirius channel. It's this whole industry that's kind of spun out of this, and so he's great. I haven't run into that many dinks, and if I do have sort of a questionable interaction with somebody, my first thought is, well, maybe it was me, maybe it's the way you asked that question, maybe if it but overall it's been pretty good. There have been people that just don't really want to be there, and that's sort of understandable. There's some that I expected to be total dorks, but they were great, like Ted Nugent. I talked to him probably about 20 years ago. He was here with Lynyrd Skynyrd. They were playing, and I did a phone interview with him. And I remember we were setting it up beforehand, and the his publicist. Okay, so it's 2:00 today, right? Yeah, 2:00. Okay, when it's 2:00, Ted's calling at 2:00. He's not calling at 1:58. He's not calling at 2:02. He's calling at 2:00. Okay, fine. I'll be ready. I show up, a quarter after 1 or something like that, and there's like 5 messages for me. They screwed up the time zone. People forget there's another time zone east of Eastern. So he called right on the top of the hour, but it was an hour early. But he was fine. He's one of these guys you could just say, "Hi, Ted, how's it going?" and he can talk for 15 minutes. And politics aside, this is before he really went off the rails with that stuff. But he was fantastic. He was just the guys from Aerosmith. We met them years ago when they played at the Metro Center, and they were a little late getting in. We didn't think it was going to happen, but they hung around for everything. And I still have my signed. You can see it up there.
Oh, you got your own.
Okay, you got the BB King poster. The BB King poster there. There's the Aerosmith. The Get a Grip album cover that everybody signed. Cool. Everybody signed that for me, so that's been up there. And so that's just a tragical hit poster there. Bob Dylan and Merle Haggard. I took my mom to see that in Boston. And anywho, but I digress. I find that the older, the more established an act is, the better they're going to be as far as an interview. It's sometimes, the only real kind of meatheads I've run into are bands that are just kind of coming up, like this Canadian bands that get a decent record deal and they come up and they just kind of give it a high hand a little bit, and you never hear from them again usually. Yep. So yeah, but most of them, the older ones especially, they appreciate being there, and they're usually terrific.
I can honestly say, in all my years, I mean, I've opened for bands and whatever, and you remember little things, somebody's having a bad day. There's only one person that I've met, and I've met him 4 times, and I won't say his name because it's not right, but it rhymes with Lars Ulrich. And, and I use
cryptic.
I use things, but funny. And there's a comedian that I a little bit of what I'm saying about him hanging out with him, and it's bang on. He's just a different dude, but for the most part, everybody that I've met's been really good. I mean, and I've had the opportunity to open for different people that you think, oh man, this is going to be bad. And, I remember we interviewed Dave from Svengali, and I remember we were terrified because they had such a reputation of being these crazy dudes, and they couldn't have been nicer, right? Meatloaf was one of the nicest men I've ever met in my life.
Exactly. Yeah, I met him here too, and he's a weird one though. Like, he is strange, but he he was fine. Like, he was really jovial and really. It was the same. The Super Bowl was on at the same night, so he played at the Metro Center on Sunday night, and he had like one eye on the TV the entire time. But he was, he was great. And I always come back to the three guys though. I always come back to Alice Cooper, Steve Van Zandt. Rick Emmett was always really good. He's one of the first interviews I did when I first started at Q, and he was, I thought he was great.
So can I tell you a quick Rick Emmett?
Oh, I saw the look on your face. Sean.
So I had the opportunity to our band open for Rick, and I tell you, I was the arsehole that night because the first night we played, and I had a little bit too much to drink, and I remember going, Rick, I loved you when I saw you on the Power 7 tour, and it was the Thunder 7 tour, and I get to be around Rick a little bit when I moved to Toronto, and he never let me forget it, but a gracious guy. But we opened for him when the Jays won the first World Series. And if you remember, it went into extra innings, and Rick would not go on till that game was over. And I think they won it in the 10th. So he went on about 1:45, but he played till almost 3:30. And such a nice guy. He was, honest to God, he was one of the first ones that, because I remember listening to old CJCH and waiting for Say Goodbye to come on. That was the one tune that you could hear by Triumph. And he was just super, super nice dude.
He was, and I think the last time he came into the Q104, this is a few years ago, and I'm on Friday afternoon, and he's playing at the Attic or something, and he's playing that night, so he's coming in, and I go on the air. Well, about 4:30, Rick Emmett's going to be here. He's going to be here live. He's not going to play anything, but as soon as I hung up the phone, the line rings, and I pick it. Hi, Tom, it's Mike Smith from Trailer Park Boys. It's Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys. You mind if I came in, like when you did the interview, and I thought, Trailer Park Boys, what the hell, sure, And so Rick comes in, and there's Mike. Rick has no idea who this is, like no clue who it is. And we do the interview, and finally he introduces himself, and that's terrific. And we take a picture, and he puts the glasses on, like he puts the Bubbles glasses on. And Rick, Mike leaves, and then Rick hangs around for a couple minutes. Who was that? Is that no? He's in a show called Trailer Park Boys, and I don't know. And then a few months later, we get an email back from Rick, and he said, "I showed my kids the picture of me with Bubbles." And like that was the great. Like, I'm sure the Triumph has some great pictures over the years. That was the greatest picture they had ever seen. Bubbles, holy shit! So yeah. It kind of put things in perspective for him a little bit. But no, he's always been great. All those Triumph guys were great. I've talked to Gil, and I've talked to Mike Levine, and they're always money in the bank.
Gilmore's
most of the Canadian guys you're never going to have a problem with. Yeah,
Gilmore's about 20 feet tall. I've never seen him as tall as him, and funny. I mean, just super funny. I mean, I think about the time that I get to spend around some guys like that, and you take it for granted. I mean, I remember being in Toronto going to see Phil X at a bar called the Artful Dodger, and now he's playing in Bon Jovi, and the things you take for granted.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like there are a lot of there's so many people that have kind of come through here. Like I remember going to the. I was a big fan of the Flamingo, the pub Flamingo in downtown Halifax. That's one place that doesn't get enough mention, I don't think. Sarah McLachlan was a waitress there, I think.
I fucking tried to find it twice, and every location that was been there, it was 3 or 4 locations, and they're all gone. They're all gone now, unfortunately. And the last one I remember is where the Halifax Dinner Theater was, and it was just torn down a couple of weeks ago. I was like, man, I love that place.
The Pacifico. It was the Pacifico for a while, I think, wasn't it? Right down there on, yeah. Well, we went there one night. The reason I brought that up is I went there one night, and I'm a big fan of the Sky Diggers, great Canadian band back in the early 90s or so, and some friends of mine were friends with the band, so, Sky Diggers are playing. I like those guys. Let's go. And, shit, there's an opening act. Who are these guys? Bare Naked Ladies. What is this? What are we, and they were fantastic. Like this is before any record. This is before anything, and they were just on fuego, as the kids say. There's some weird kids, I guess, but they were terrific. And so once again, I had no idea who that. We're never going to see these idiots again. Well, wait a year later, who were those guys we saw at the bar that night? So yeah, you don't take that stuff for granted, and because it could just all blow up. So.
Well, some of the best bands of the openers. I remember I saw ZZ Top here in I think 92 or 93, and Extreme opened for them. Yeah. And that was insane. I mean, it was just like ZZ Top was great, but that was Porn to Graffiti. I mean, that was their album, and they were doing all the hits, and it was unreal just to see that band. And they only played 45 minutes, but man, oh man, they tore the crap out of the stage. Let me tell you.
I was working that night. That was 91. I think I just started working at CFDR then, and I couldn't get the night off. But seeing Neil Young one of the last times he was here, and Wilco was the opening act. And Wilco were a huge band at that point. But yeah, Neil Young asked you to open for him. Yeah, what the hell? We're going to do that. And they were outstanding. And Neil played, and he ended with A Day in the Life by the Beatles, and it was just cool. Ridiculous. It was the same weekend as the Q104 25th anniversary shit show down at the Kennard Center, and which I still think people are waiting for cabs from that night. I still think people are still waiting to get out of there.
Where the hell is Miles Goodwin? Miles Goodwin was supposed to be there.
Oh my God. What a day that was. I mean, like, it had been sold out for weeks, and you had Matt Mays, you had Sam Roberts, you had 5440, and it was just every Q jock, like brother Jake Edwards flew back in, Hal Harbor was there, everybody was there. It was absolutely jammed, and April Wine are the headliners, and about 9 in the morning we get a call that Miles can't make it. April Wine can't play tonight, and it's in his book, like Just Between You and Me, like it's the first chapter is him talking about giving up drinking, like he had thrown on a good one the night before, and he just fell down and smacked his head pretty good, and he couldn't get on the plane. And my favorite part of that was Louis Thomas from Sonic Entertainment, who's putting the whole thing together. Who are we going to get to replace April Wine? We have to get somebody.
Joel Plaskett.
And they phoned Joel Plaskett, and what do you think about playing tonight? Yeah, we've got tickets anyway. So yeah, what the hell? So and they just rocked it. They ended up doing a bit of Ooh What a Night by April Wine, and it was just perfection. So
he said the coolest thing that night. I remember he said, "Listen, I heard something happen to Miles. He said, I'm just here doing my rock and roll duty." I said, oh, what a cool thing for him to say. I mean, it was awesome. A Kim Mitchell line, obviously, but it was such a cool thing for him to say. Very, very humble guy. And super talented himself. But,
oh yeah. He's probably my favorite. I've got a lot of favorite artists around here, but man, we're right up there at the top of the list.
Perfect.
Good Dartmouth boy.
Have you had him on the show? Have you had Joel on the? You should get him on the program sometime.
We're trying. We're
making inroads, making inquiries.
Yeah.
Cool.
Called some people, and it's going to come down to we're going to go down to New Scotland and get blazingly drunk and not pay the bar tab, and then he'll have to call us, and that's how.
Now that is solid. Man, that's how I got to get. That's how you get the interviews. I'm making a mental note of that. God.
Don't give them all our secrets, Sean. Don't give them all our secrets. Jesus.
Whatever it takes. Whatever
Falling off the bar stools. Yeah.
Tommy, we're almost just about time, brother. I just wanted to, first of all, before we wrap up entirely, first of all, thank you so much for your support for all of maritime music, and for what we've done here too. And that interview last night, that was great. We like to say thank you for coming on to our show, because again, I'm excited to see Tom. But now, what's the name of your current? Do you have a little project now or no?
Bedelica. I think that's what we were gonna when we do the metal thing. I think we're gonna call it Bedelica. But Bedell Harrison is I just do an acoustic duo with my neighbor, and really good guitar player. The commute for band practices is the best I've ever had. It's like 30 seconds across the yard, so that's a big factor there. But we just have an acoustic duo, Bedell Harrison. We have another Pizza Town gig coming up here on the 24th, I think. It's the Friday night, so out there in the patio. And it's Crystal out at Pizza Town, great supporter of music here in Sackville, and always gets a pretty decent lineup out there. And it's all socially distanced. She's got everything 6 feet apart, and you can't schmooze between tables and stuff. It's a whole new world, but she's making it work. So we're there on the 24th. I think that's pretty much it. Things are the usual places that we play. Off Track Brewing is another place that we're usually at out here in Bedford, and they're kind of cranking things back up again. So it might be a few weeks before we get back in there, but things are starting to pick up, and that's pretty cool. I mean, a few months ago, who knows where we would have thought we'd be in 3 months. So any night you get a chance to get out is good. So
Amen.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we'll have to pop out because that's the night before our live show. So we'll
you
saw Mauricio Coing 2 weeks at that.
Yeah.
It's a great spot.
It is
set up on the path.
Oh
awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. And they've got the umbrellas out there and everything, and it's
very diligent.
Great,
you're right. We had to stay in a certain spot and not move, and don't touch the ropes, and wait till I come get you. It's okay. So, but it's good.
Oh yeah. No, we have to have laminates. We have to have I'm with the band laminates on to. Plus, it's a coupon for chicken wings on the other side. So that's
it's multifaceted. But
come on,
out there. The waitress, she was great. She was at first she was kind of showing us the ropes or whatever, and then she recognized Dave and I from this goofy little show, which was kind of good. And she was working hard, so but it was a good atmosphere, and Dave and I have been downtown a few times, and if nothing else, it's encouraging that you're starting to see the city come alive a little bit.
You can feel it.
It's weird though, isn't it? Like it's weird, and it's like this is just like a giant. I was talking to Randy Bachman and Burton Cummings about this. I mean, they had their whole thing, 50th anniversary of American Woman cross Canada tour, all these dates in the States, whole thing. Yeah, we're just writing it off, just hitting the reset button. I think Randy said, and then back at it for 2021. So. What can you do?
Well, and the night that the last Saturday that Dave and I were at Big Leagues, and there was a crowd in there. And I remember Dave and I were looking around. This is great. Nothing's going to happen. And then Monday the hammer came down. Right?
Oh yeah.
It's like everybody knew. It's like, bring your junkie all you can. Everything you could because it's going to be gone.
Oh yeah.
It concerned about it, I tell you. And I remember just like looking around, and the bass player in the band that we were watching, he came up, he goes, yeah, he goes, like, you could tell he was physically scared to be. And I felt bad for him, but literally 2 days later, she was all shut down. That was March 15th.
Well, Sean and I we both had St. Patrick's Day gigs. I had my band was going to be playing at Finbury.
Me too.
Yep, and Sean was on his way to New Brunswick, and it's just like, and we didn't know that. That was like, I think the 14th. It was just like, it'll be fine. The 17th. It's like, and we went up for one final rehearsal, and me and the boys were in the band. We're talking. It's like, and I don't fucking want to go. Like, I'm scared someone's going to sneeze at me. I started to get really scared when I thought about it. It's like, this is serious shit. And like, I didn't know how bad it was. I hadn't watched the news, and I wasn't really paying attention. But it's like, sure enough, you know, I mean, it all came down. But
yeah, like I'm that guy now. Like I was out the other day, and somebody wanted to come out and shake my hand, and of course you shake somebody's hand, but I thought, Jesus, and I immediately went off and washed it. And I guess I'm that guy now. Like, it's just, it's all this stuff that we probably should have been doing anyway, like the washing of the hands, and you know, just kind of cooling it with the, you know, this kind of stay a little bit away and be more sanitary and stuff like that. The stuff we should have been doing in the first place. That's just how I'm looking at it.
Really?
But now I'm going to be super diligent about it. Nobody wants to be that guy, you know.
And hopefully that's one positive that comes out of it. People will maintain that decorum of hand washing and whatever. And, you know, but I mean, again, I'm the eternal optimist. I was expecting to play the gig. I mean, I don't know if you remember years ago when the fire that happened at the Copper Penny.
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole place got burnt, and it happened on like a Monday night, and I went in there the Tuesday. I was playing on the Friday, and I'm looking around saying, yeah, you guys should be ready for the weekend, right? I mean, it was,
sure. You're the optimist. Ever the optimist there.
Right. But I'm optimistic, though, that, you know, I'm optimistic it's going to come back, but I was happy to see what I saw the first couple nights we were out.
Yeah.
Really challenging.
No, it's
it's the buzz. It's just nice to feel, like you said, for 3 months you didn't see anybody. It was kind of weird to go around the campground. Sean and I felt the same way, and we've been doing this thing. This has been my life for 7 weeks. I haven't listened to the news, so I feel better. I mean, I'm not unaware, but we're going to be smart. We're going to be careful. But it's nice to feel something again. You feel the electricity in the air. You know, just things are moving a little bit. It's nice to see people alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think a lot of that's summer too. I think a lot of that is just the fact that people want to get moving again. But luckily, we're not going completely apeshit like they have in the States.
No.
Yeah. It's a good point. But I mean, I know myself, I was always one of those germaphobes. Like, I used to go through two things of Purell a day, and like, I have a weird OCD where I'd go to the grocery store. I wouldn't touch the cart with my bare hands, but I'd drop something on any floor and pick it up and eat it. It's like bizarre, right?
Yeah. But, 3 second rule, you know.
But my point is like, I was always kind of aware of that. So I'm hoping that piece of thing stays, because it's like, you know, it is smart. COVID aside, it is smart just to have, you know, good, clean surroundings, right? So
yeah, lots of vitamin D, lots of that's good for your immunity. So, you know, take a bit more of that, get more sun.
Some Lysol, clearly.
Yeah, well, here we are.
yeah.
Listen, Tommy, thanks so much.
Works too.
Yes.
Yeah, man. But, well, Ryan's been keeping me pretty healthy so far. I mean, I haven't got the COVID.
Hell
yet,
yeah.
There you go. Tom, we want to thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, guys.
Man.
This
Seriously.
is really fun.
And listen, for everything you do and everything you continue to do and everything you're going to do, thank you so much.
Ditto. Thanks
a lot, Tom.
All right. Peace out, brother. You take care.